Hello everyone, welcome to Everything Arsenal, and this is the latest transfer news. I cannot lie to you, I'm absolutely tired. Just finished the Arsenal Bournemouth game, did their action for that 1-1 draw. We won 5-4 on penalties, so we'll be discussing a little on that. But we had breaking news from last night on Smith Rowe. Have this news on Calafiori as well. Literally the last like 12 hours, a lot has happened. We finally got the here we go for Calafiori. That is the first deal. Smith Rowe looking possibly like the second deal, and finally Merino, the latest on him. We'll be discussing all that. Every time I watch those games in the morning, I get to respect those fans in Australia and the Americas even more. Like these games at 4, 5 a.m. in the morning, absolutely crazy. But we'll talk about that one. But first, let's start the breaking news on Emile Smith Rowe. It came out literally past midnight last night, and this is what David Ornstein reported. Exclusive: Fulham close to reaching agreement with Arsenal to sign Emile Smith Rowe. Talks of a move worth up to 35 million would be record recruit for Fulham, plus matches the biggest Arsenal sale. If deal struck, that 23-year-old expected to do medical and finalize terms. So David Ornstein with the bomber last night, saying that Fulham are now close to reaching an agreement with Emile Smith Rowe. They did make a first bid a couple of days ago. I think it was like 25 million plus 5 million in add-ons. That was rejected, but they've come back with another offer of 35 million. We'll get to know about the bonuses and all that. I think Arsenal will definitely include want bonuses, maybe a sell-on clause, maybe a buyback clause, whichever you're going to have. I think Arsenal are definitely going to include something there. So for Emile Smith Rowe, I think we already know that he's going to leave. Now, this is what was reported yesterday. There are players that Mikel and Arsenal would prefer to sell ahead of Smith Rowe. Arteta remains a huge fan of the player, and the club have not been particularly enamored with the midfielders available on the market this summer. So the player, it depends on whether the player wants to stay or not. So with Emile Smith Rowe, it was a case of we'd be happy to keep him, I guess, if we don't get enough money for him. If the player wants to stay, Atsa wants him to stay, we're not really going to push him out. He can stay. But if we do get a significant amount of money, then we can let him go. Or if the player does feel like he wants to go, which we've been told that he already talked to Marco Silva before, the Fulham coach, and he's already agreed to move there, then you have to let the player go. We never really make sales like this. We never really get 35 million for players. We only really got that kind of money for Balogun and Chamberlain. We never make those kind of sales. And this is one player that we can get that money for. So it has to happen. Now, people will say, why are we selling Smith Rowe fast? It depends. We know we've not really gotten any offers for Nelson yet. We've not really gotten any offers for Kivio yet. Teams have begun talks with Nelson, yes, and Edin Nketiah, but we've not really had offers put on the table yet. Smith Rowe is the one that is a very, very key asset in the team, and teams feel like they can use him for sure. And you've gotten the offer for him, and it's about to move on. Arsenal will accept that at 5 million. Maybe they will include some bonuses and some add-ons there, and then we'll get maybe close to 40 million package, which is great business. Now, Smith is very young. He basically, him and Saka saved Arsenal at some point in 2020. Like they're on the same trajectory, but Saka obviously is miles ahead now, mainly because of Smith Rowe's injury. It is sad that he's leaving Arsenal. I would have loved Smith to stay at Arsenal. Would have loved him to achieve a lot of things at Arsenal, but you have to look at the team in general. You have to look at the team in terms of where the team is heading. Maybe if we sell him, we can afford to get a striker. We were told that to get the players like Gyökeres, we have to make some sales. So those sales come from, unfortunately, the players, the Highland boys, that is Smith Rowe, Nketiah, and Nelson. And since Smith Rowe has left, I'm kind of feeling like all three of them will leave. We've already replaced one of them, like with an English player. Setford has already come in, and then he might get another. But Emile Smith Rowe, as David Ornstein has said, he is about to move on. So this is what he said in his article. Fulham are close to reaching an agreement with Arsenal to sign midfielder Emile Smith Rowe. Talks between the Premier League sides center on a transfer worth up to 35 million, which would be a record acquisition for Fulham and match Arsenal's biggest sale. Subject to deal being struck by clubs, Smith Rowe must undergo a medical and finalize personal terms ahead of completing the proposed move. The 23-year-old attacking midfielder was also a target for Crystal Palace, but Fulham have maneuvered themselves into a position to secure his services. Smith Rowe came through the Arsenal Academy, meaning a sale would represent pure profit in their financial accounts. The Athletic previously reported that Fulham had 30 million bid rejected for Smith Rowe. He has made just 3 Premier League appearances since August 2022. So 2 full years, only made 3 Premier League appearances. The injuries have definitely cost him a lot. Competition, he faced issues of fitness and also falling back behind players like Leandro Trossard, Martinelli, Bukayo Saka, and Gabriel Jesus in the pecking order. Now, the injuries definitely cost him. Like if Smith Rowe didn't have any injuries after that 2022 season, I would have loved to see which direction he'd have gone. He was starting to get picked up for England. He was, he had scored 10 goals for Arsenal in that season. He was one of our most important players that season. But things have changed a lot since then. Martinelli came in and overtook him. Actually, that season, he was playing ahead of Martinelli. Martinelli was the one who was on the bench, and Smith Rowe was the one who was playing. That is how high he was in our team. They basically saved Arsenal. Him and Saka that time, they're the only shining light in that team. Saka, Martinelli, and Smith Rowe. Aubameyang was approaching the end, Lacazette was approaching the end, and then you had a lot of players there that were very dislikable, that you didn't unlikable, dislikable, whichever word fits there. We were not really fans of the players that were there, and the only players that we really loved were Saka and Smith Rowe. We even had a song for them, but the injuries really, really cost Smith Rowe. He missed a lot of games. He had a couple of, I think, of operations, and it hasn't really ever worked out for him. And for example, at England, like he's definitely dropped a lot in terms of England now. You cannot see him being anywhere near the England team at all. There's like 7, 8 players who overtook him since. You can even argue up to 10 players. So it was between Crystal Palace and Fulham, but he's discussed it with the Fulham manager. It's still a very good move for him. Now, there's players who leave Arsenal and you're like, I hope you fail. You know the names. I don't have to mention them. But for Emile Smith, so this is one player that I really, really want to see go and do well. I'm wishing him all the best. Is like one of the fan favorites at Arsenal, obviously. So wishing him all the best. And I think Fulham would be a great fit for him. He's still in London, not far away from Arsenal. So he doesn't have to make a crazy move like he did like on loan a few years back to like Germany or something. No, he'll be in England still. He'll be in London still. Crystal Palace would have been in London as well. But I think Fulham is a great fit for him. Playing next to likes of Munir and players like even William is there as well. They've been doing good. There's a few positions there for him. They've sold Reed and players like that. So there's an opportunity there for him to shine. And hopefully does very, very well for them. Emile Smith also. So that's the latest on him. He will be heading to Fulham, or we are close to agreeing a deal. I mean, it's definitely going to be done. We just played against Bournemouth early today, and he didn't play at all. So we made 10 subs. We played 11 players. We made 10 subs. So a total of 21 players played. Smith was on the bench, but he didn't come on. So the only reason he didn't come on is because we want to sell him, or we are going to sell him. Like if he wasn't going to be sold this week, he would have played today for sure. He would have come on. But the fact that we've already agreed a deal or close to agreeing a deal with Fulham, they don't want to play him and then risk him getting injured, and then they can't sell him anymore. No. So that is why he didn't play against Bournemouth. But Smith Rowe, that's the latest on him. He's about to move to Fulham. Let's see how that one goes. I think it's a good fee considering he's not really played the last 2 years. You cannot argue in that 5 million. Unless you guys do want more than that, I don't know. Let me know. So he's not going to be the only player who's going to leave Arsenal. There's a couple more who are expected to leave. Yesterday, we got a here we go finally for the services of Calafiori. So David Olsen said all agreements now in place for Riccardo Calafiori. And then Fabrizio Romano gave us the here we go as well. The here we go that we were very, very, very much waiting for. We waited a long time to get the here we go for Riccardo Calafiori. Fabrizio finally gave it to us yesterday. He will be joining Arsenal for a total fee of 45 million euros. His medical is scheduled for the USA, so we might see him maybe traveling today and then finalizing his move by Friday. And then hopefully he plays a part against Man United over the weekend. Or if not, he can play a part against Liverpool after that. We've discussed a lot on Calafiori over the last 2-3 weeks as we've been waiting for us to agree a deal with them. It has turned out to be more complicated than we thought it was going to be, but that makes it even more perfect when you end up getting a player. This is a player who was wanted by several teams in England, in France, in Germany. Real Madrid came in for him last minute. Italy as well. Juventus came in for him last minute. I thought he was going to stay in Italy, but he ended up choosing Arsenal, which is great. He basically begged them to join Arsenal. Bologna said, listen, let me go play for Arsenal. This is an exciting signing. As a first official signing, when these signings start to happen like this, and then another player leaves, and then you sign another player, business is going to be done a lot over the next 2 weeks before the Premier League season starts. I'm expecting over the next 2 weeks, I'm expecting another like 2 players to leave after Smith Rowe within the next 10 days, and then has to make another signing after that. Hopefully do make a total of 3 signings. I don't know how quickly you're going to make it, if one more is going to come in after the season has already started, but whichever way it's going to be, we're starting to do deals, and Calafiori has joined us as our first exciting signing this transfer window. Setford and Raya goalkeepers, so those are usually not exciting signings. I don't think I've ever been excited about signing a goalkeeper. Ramsdale, not really. Czech, not really. Leno, not really. A goalkeeper will just come in and be a goalkeeper. But exciting signings is usually getting a striker or, number 10. Like, you remember when he signed Alexis Sanchez or Ozil, those were exciting signings, I remember even when he signed Podolski, I was like, oh, this is the guy who used to he plays for Germany next to Klaus and stuff. Like, those are exciting signings. So if you end up getting someone like another midfielder or striker, those would be exciting. But Calafiori, the fact that is a very good footballer, not only just defending in terms of attacking wise as well, and the fact that he's going to be paired up with these other defenders, it makes him another exciting signing, even though he's a defender. So I cannot wait for him to get started at Arsenal. Calafiori. So those 2 deals are going to happen this week. They're going to be finalized, but those are not the only 2 deals that look likely to be happening. So Mikel Merino, the latest on Mikel Merino is that Arsenal have sent their proposal to Mikel Merino and are now preparing official offer to Real Sociedad for the player. Although Merino is getting closer and closer to Arsenal, the agreement between the 2 clubs is still missing. So they want 30 million euros. The player is still on holiday, but I think we can get it done very quickly. For 30 million euros, you can discuss it very quickly with them. You can get the player very quickly, especially if you're trying to get him during this USA tour. Before the players go back to London, before the preseason ends. I think this is a player we can finalize very quickly. Fabrizio as well confirmed that Arsenal's interest in Mikel Merino is genuine and strong. There have been multiple calls on the player's side to confirm the interest. So we've already contacted the player, we've already contacted his entourage, so this is not just a new deal. As we always say, you need to contact the player first and the entourage. I think you need to get permission from the club though. Then you talk to the player first, and then if he wants to join you, that's when you go to the team and make a bid, because there's no need of you to go to the team and make a bid. And then the player says, actually, you know what, I don't want to go to Arsenal. No, you have to agree personal terms with the player. And then after that, you go and make a bid, or you go and pay the release clause, whatever it is for whichever player. Then that happens. So Merino is another player who would bring a lot of quality to the Arsenal team. These are 2 players who are really good at the Euros. Merino is good at the Euros. Calafiori is very good at the Euros. Both of them very good for their clubs last season, Bologna and Sociedad. A lot of connections with Arsenal, the Spanish connection with Merino, the fact that he's played with Odegaard before at Real Sociedad, very, very exciting. Calafiori has played with Jorginho before, so can see maybe you're doing a great work in terms of attracting these players. Maybe Ray has done incredible work in terms of telling Merino about Arsenal, and Jorginho did incredible work in terms of telling Calafiori about Arsenal. Things are moving. So Merino is looking very likely to be our second signing. We were told that our next signing will be a midfielder or striker, and the Merino one looks like it's progressing quickly. We've also been told that Arsenal are ahead of Chelsea in terms of this deal. Chelsea is another team that wants him, so this one as well looks likely to be happening very, very soon. But the player is still on holidays, so I don't know how long it is going to take, but it could be our second signing. Again, those are not the only deals that are happening. We could have as many as 4 deals over the next 4 days, 5 days. Leicester City have contacted Reiss Nelson, the loan deal with an obligation to buy in talks over financial terms with Arsenal. Leicester confident they can persuade Nelson if the clubs come to terms, as he previously worked with Steve Cooper. So it depends on how much Arsenal want. If it's like 20 million and Leicester offers 20 million right away, I think they'll accept it right away. But it depends. Like Reiss Nelson against Bournemouth today morning, absolutely great in that first half. He was really, really good. So I was thinking, hey, this should be like a 25 million pound player at minimum. So hopefully that kind of performance helps his cause and helps us in terms of getting more money. He looked very sharp in that first half. So that's another deal that could happen. So another player who's been linked to Crystal Palace, to Leicester, to several teams in the Premier League, Reiss Nelson. Another player who looks likely to be following Smith Rowe very soon. And Ketty as well is being linked to Marseille. We've been told that they're about to table an offer, so that could happen as well. Kivia, we have to wait and see. So we could have as many as 6-7 sales. Remember, Lokonga's already left, Tavares has already left. Tierney will definitely leave as well. Biarritz was sold, so there's like a lot of players have left Arsenal. If you throw in El Neni as well, you throw in Cedric Ramsdale, I don't think is going to stay. Or Okonkwo has left, so we could have as many as 25 players leaving Arsenal if you include the youngsters. So it's a huge change. We are going to keep on improving the team, and then you sell some, and then you keep on improving the team. Last season, you only had like 14, 15 players that are trusted. The first 11, and then Kivio from the bench, Trossard from the bench, Jorginho from the bench, and maybe one more. Next season, I'm hoping you have like a squad of 19 players that we trust. That whether you move Calafiori and play Timber, and then you move Tomiyasu and play Ben White, and then you move Reiss and play Merino, whichever, you're good to go. So I want a lot of rotation next season. So lastly, let's talk about that Bournemouth game. We played earlier this morning. We drew 1-1. It was a bit of a mixed team, a lot of youngsters. And actually, from this picture, the only players who we really considered first team players are Partey, White, and Timber. And from last season, it was only really White and Partey who were in our first team. A lot of youngsters in Heaven and Skelly and the likes of Nwaneri. Second half, the likes of Odegaard and Jesus came on, but we also brought in a couple of other youngsters, Rekik, Sago, Junior, and a lot of others. Nwaneri was one player that really, really impressed in that game. Make sure to check out the match reaction. Discussed him a lot. He did very, very well in that match. Super excited to see how he does for us next, and hopefully does get a few opportunities. He did shine in that one. He was very confident. He played in 3 different positions, as a number 8, as a number 10, and on the right wing as well. He was looking sharp throughout the game. He could take on players very confident, and players like Fabio Villa, so happy he scored. Remember, I've been saying I really want to see Fabio Villa and Jesus this preseason. Having a good preseason, because I need them to be big for us next season. A couple of other players stood out. Nelson was great, as already mentioned, especially the first half. And Karl Hein, he made 2 very good saves and also saved 2 penalties in the shootout. Very, very good as well. But yeah, we discussed it in the match reaction. Make sure to check that one out. But that's the latest news. I'm sure we're going to get more news coming up today and tomorrow as well. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch up with you guys on the next one. I seriously need to get some sleep.